right, ladies and gentlemen, joining us from all over the world, you're warmly welcome to the first ever Growth Conference East Africa. We are very excited to have you. You're warmly welcome. Thank you so much for joining us from the different parts of the world. We are very excited. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Today, you're not just joining a conference, you are joining a movement. Oh, yes, we are not just a conference. We are a movement of growth enthusiasts who are ready to take Africa and the world by storm. And we thank you for being a part of this movement today. So I'd like to know where you're tuning in from. I'm tuning in from Uganda, the beautiful part of Africa. Those from West Africa who have not yet come to Uganda, you should think about coming to Uganda. We might give you bananas, which are better than the fufu that you're enjoying in West Africa. And you may want to stay with us. And guess what? I know you're about to tell me that you will give us jollof rice and we may want to stay in West Africa too. That's the beauty about this conference, that we get to intermix with people from different nations of the world with a desire to grow to their next level. So right now, I can see there are different people joining us. I would like to know, where are you joining us from? Please type in the comment section, where are you joining us from? I would like to know so that I can give you that special welcome. Let me know where you're joining in from. Just type in the comment section. I want to give you that special welcome. Oh, yes, I see Rashida. Rashida from Uganda, you're warmly welcome. Emmanuel from Nigeria, you're warmly welcome. We're glad to have you here. Oh, yes, I see Winfred from Uganda. I see Sheila from Uganda. I told you that Ugandan people are ready for these things. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, yes, I see Maggie from Kenya. Karibuni, Karibuni, Maggie. And we pray that peace is now coming to Kenya. Sorry about the situation that is happening, and we trust that God is going to bring his peace. Please let me know where you're joining in from. Yes, I see Cindy joining from Uganda. Let us know where you are joining in from. I know there are a number of other participants joining from different parts of the world, from Rwanda. Please feel proud of your country. Let us know where you are joining in from. I see Judith from Uganda. I see Luda from Tanzania. Karibuni Luda from Tanzania. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, yes, East Africa is representing here. People from Nigeria, Ghana, are you there? Oh, yes, I talked about them, and then Sandra appeared. Sandra from Nigeria, you're warmly welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, yes, we have people joining us all the way from the Netherlands. Jackie, thank you so much for joining us from the Netherlands. We're glad that you're here with us. I can see Gloria joining us from Uganda. It's important just to show you that what we are growing. Why am I reading these countries? To let you know that what you are joining in today is just no ordinary conference. We are a movement. Glad to see you joining in. Yes, I have a number of people. Many of you are joining us on YouTube, and some of you are joining us directly. It's important that we know where you're joining in from so that we can welcome you. Thank you so much for joining us. This is going to be amazing. If you're ready for something great tonight, you know, when I visited Kenya, I stopped saying I'm excited. When I visited Kenya and made Kenyan friends, I learned that we don't say you are excited. You say you are excited. So tonight I'm excited. Why am I excited? Because I know that we are not just bringing you ordinary speakers, but we are bringing you amazing speakers tonight who are going to share with you a transformational message that will leave you different. Yes, you just never know. This afternoon, I was speaking to ladies from Kenya, Uganda, and one of the
Lydia, maybe you could check your sound.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
I
loud
can
and
hear
clear
you.
now.
I can hear you, All Lydia. Right. Sorry. You know these internet challenges, we cannot avoid them. But thank you so much for letting me know about that. So I was just telling you, just in case you're wondering, Lydia, you're from the banana land, but who are you really? So I was just telling you that my name is Lydia, Lydia the Catalyst. And tonight I am going to be your host. So the catalyst, what do you catalyze? I'm a business catalyst. I catalyze the birth and growth of passion-driven businesses. Oh, yes, it's very possible to make money by doing what you love. I've been doing this for the last 10 years, and I can tell you that it is something beautiful and amazing. So just in case you're there and thinking, I am passionate about this, but I don't know how to make money.
Sound lost again. Did your sound lost again? Lydia, your sound is lost again. Lydia, I don't know if you can hear me, but your sound is lost again. We can't hear you.
Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But when the internet misbehaves that, then you know we are up for something great. So you should better make sure that you stay with us, because if the internet is misbehaving, then it is scared about the amazing speakers that we are rolling out today. So I want to therefore take this opportunity. I am the moderator, but we have an amazing host, okay? For the last 2 months, we have been planning this thing, cooking it, simmering it, to make sure that it is one of the best that East Africa has ever seen. So right now, I want to take this opportunity to invite our amazing host, Bahati Hilda, to get us started to get us started. Bahati Hilda, I trust you're here with us. You are warmly welcome. Hilda, are you there yet? All right, no worries. I believe she'll be joining us shortly. I believe Hilda will be joining us shortly. So Hilda is not here. So let me therefore take this opportunity. Hilda and I have just basically been the engines behind the Growth Conference East Africa. But the Growth Conference East Africa is bigger than us. We are only a part of this big movement, okay? Behind this big movement is a woman who decided to dream big, okay? She dreamt of something bigger than just East Africa, bigger than West Africa. So ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together to welcome Noella Yubo from Nigeria, the founder behind the Growth Conference, to tell us about why the Growth Conference, what is it about, what should you expect, particularly when we talk about break free from your limits. Noella, you're warmly welcome to just tell us about where it is that this whole thing began from and what people should expect, our guests today from across the world should expect and should know. I always believe that when you know where the movement begins from, you enjoy the flow of it. We don't want you just to be guests tonight. We want you to become a part of this movement. So over to you, Noella, to let us know where this whole thing began and where it is going.
Thank you so much, Lydia. Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel truly honored and privileged to be addressing this crowd this evening. It's so exciting to be part of this movement. Now, the Growth Conference is a global movement. It's a global movement. It's not just an event. It's a global movement for developing female leaders across the world who are going to be significant contributors to the society. Now, when we talk about women, we know that there are so many things limiting women, so many things stopping women from becoming all that they have been created to become. And I'm so glad that the Growth Conference East Africa is dealing with a very important topic: breaking limits, breaking stereotypes. You know, arming women, equipping them with the tools that will help them to overcome all those barriers that have kept them in one position. Now, the question is, as a woman, what is stopping you? What is limiting you? Could it be you limiting yourself? Could it be you stringing the pain and the guilt of the past into the beautiful present moments that you have and contaminating the glorious future that you have been given? Could it be the stereotype you've been fed with when you were growing up? When you were told probably by your parents that a girl or a woman can only come this far? Could it be the social environment, the physical environment? Could it be the cultural, the political, economic environment that is spinning you down and snuffing the life and the joy out of you? What is it that is stopping you? And that is exactly what the Growth Conference East Africa, with the theme Breaking Limits, is here to address. And it's so amazing that a phenomenal Dr. Bahati, I call her phenomenal because she is phenomenal. Dr. Bahati has assembled some of Africa's finest, world-renowned and most sought-after speakers to arm you with the tools that you need for this journey, the tools that you need to liberate yourself so that you can rise up, step up, and become who you have been created by God to become. No more standing on the sidelines. No more standing on the sidelines, and no more believing those limiting ideologies that have been handed over to you centuries ago and even in the present moment. It is time for women to rise. It is time, because you are that voice that we've been waiting for, that voice that heals, that voice that educates, that voice that counsels. You have so much within you that you give yourself credit for. You have so much that the world is waiting to listen to. You have so much that the world is waiting for. You are the solution provider. You are more than enough. You are more than you think that you are. Enough of the imposter syndrome. Enough of thinking you're not good enough, you're not smart enough. Enough of thinking that you don't deserve this, you don't deserve that. You can't do this, you can't do that. These are the limiting lies that will be sold years ago. And these lies keep haunting us to today. Now listen, the Growth Conference is not a gender battleground. Neither are we here to draw any gender battle lines. No. And the beauty of this movement is that we are not alone. We are fully supported by our men, When you see the lineup of speakers, you're going to see the men. And they're not just supporting us, but they are actively involved in this movement. And that is why you're going to listen to them. You're going to hear their voice tonight. These men have been with us, planning with us, advising, supporting with their ideas and everything in between. So I believe that today, there's not just going to be a flip, but there's going to be a complete turnaround for those who are going to listen, and not just listen, but for those who are going to implement the solutions that will be handed to you free of charge, time-tested and proven solutions from our dear speakers. And I thank God that we are so blessed and enriched by these people. So sit down, and I hope you have your notebook, because I've got mine. Take notes. And most importantly, take action on what you're going to hear tonight. And I believe that you're going to see yourself achieving much more than you think you are capable of achieving. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. And thank you to our esteemed speakers for answering this call to give of your time, your experience, your knowledge, free of charge. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Like everyone else, I am here to learn. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, our speakers, for your gift of love. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much, Noella. Thank you so much for giving East Africa and the rest of the world this opportunity. Because if you had not stood up, if you had not risen up to say that we can possibly have a movement like this, probably we would not be here today. So thank you so much for believing in this and for running with this candle. We are here to support you all the way. So tonight, we are going to have something amazing. So just in case you're thinking of going off, please don't go, because what is going to be here is going to be amazing. We're going to be talking about break the limits. I like the fact that Noella talked about the fact that there is another label for each of us. You have another label to go. I have another label to go. So just in case you're wondering and thinking, Lydia, is there anything for me? Oh, yes. As long as you're still alive, there is a next level for you. There is a next level for you as a career person. There is a next level for you as an entrepreneur. There is a next level for you as a student. There is a next level for you as a mother. There is a next level for you. And so why we are talking about breaking the limits is that we want you to know that you have not yet reached the zenith of what it is that you can become. Even if you're already a country director somewhere, there is more to it. You can be more than a country director. You can lead a region. Even if you're leading a region, you can impact more people across other regions of the world. So there is a next level. And for the men, stay with us. She said it's for women leadership, but the concepts and the great things that we are going to talk about in the next 2 days are things that you can benefit from as a man. And if you have some loving women around them, then you should be watching with them. The room is full. I can see 99 is the cap for Zoom. But just in case you have friends who are saying we can no longer enter because the room is full, that's how good this thing is. In the link, I'm going to ask Sandra to post Noella's YouTube channel where you can also be able to watch this live. So just in case someone is telling you, Lydia, I'm unable to join because the Zoom link is saying we are at full capacity, don't worry. You can catch this live on Noella's YouTube growth channel called The Growth Space by Noella. So tonight, where are we going? Tonight, we are going to start by breaking the limits, the things that have been limiting us, but we are going to start on the inside. You see, before you can be able to try to go to your next level, you must be able to break those internal limits. And so you'll notice that today our conversations will focus on breaking those internal limits. And then tomorrow, we shall now start building those external things that we want to build. So stay with us, because if you're just here today and not tomorrow, then you will have taken a good cake without the icing. You want to take the whole cake with all the good things we packaged for you together with the icing. So enough of me. In the next few minutes, we're going to be having our very first speaker. If you're excited and happy, just type in the comment section, I am excited and happy, before I tell you who our next speaker is and what she is going to be giving us tonight. All right? I can see someone, Cara, is saying, what an amazing start. If you're excited and happy to be here tonight, let me just know in the comment section. I'm excited to listen. I'm excited to listen in. Sorry, I'm just talking with one of the guest speakers here. I just want to confirm, Pumla, kindly confirm that you're in. Kindly confirm that you are in.
Yes, Lydia, I am.
All right, all right. When I saw you asking for the YouTube link here, I was thinking, oops, has our guest speaker been closed out? Of course, she's not closed out. So tonight we are going to have three amazing speakers. Our first speaker will be Pumla from Uganda. The Ugandans love Pumla because they know her in and out. The Kenyans, the Tanzanians, the West Africans, you're about to fall in love with her, okay? Because she brings an amazing mix of value, humor, and authenticity. Our second speaker will be Lydia. Lydia, you're moderating and speaking again? No, not me. We have Lydia Waithera from Kenya will be our next speaker, and she will be speaking on crushing the imposter syndrome. If you've been thinking, I'm not good enough, if you've been thinking you don't deserve the job, if you've been thinking that someone else is better than you, tonight we are crushing that down. And then our third speaker, Amanda from Rwanda, has an agenda tonight for us. And guess what? Amanda's agenda tonight for us is, Amanda's agenda is that we shall build from our mistakes. I don't know about you, but I've made many mistakes. Some of them very expensive mistakes, okay? But you know what? No matter how expensive your mistakes have been, Amanda from Rwanda has an agenda to show you tonight how you can build from those mistakes. So if you're excited about that lineup of speakers and what they have to say tonight, just let me know that you're excited. So let me tell you about Pumla, who is our guest speaker, who is our next guest speaker. Pumla is our next guest speaker, and I'm just going to read to you about who Pumla is so that you know who our guest speaker is. So Pumla Nabatwa is our first guest speaker, and she will be speaking to us on upgrading your identity for success. Oh, yes. Pumla Nabatwa serves as an economist with the Bank of Uganda. She is a certified financial literacy coach who is passionate about empowering women with tools to create sustainable, positive, mental, emotional, and financial lifestyle change. Pumla is also a mother to a teenage boy. I guess many of us in Uganda have interfaced with us through the BAMP Lab, okay? And that's where we get to see her authenticity, her value, and her humor all mixed in. Ladies and gentlemen, joining from all over the world, join me to welcome our very first speaker of the Growth Conference East Africa, Pumla Nabatwa, taking us on with upgrading your identity for success. Pumla, in the comment section, everyone is saying, Wululu, lady with the gem. Wululu, we can't wait. Pumla, over to you to take us on this session.
Thank you, Lydia. Am I audible?
Very audible, very clear, excited to see you and to learn from you tonight. Very visible.
Okay. Thank you, Lydia, and I'm going to request you, Lydia, to be my personal moderator because I've had a talk like this before and my volume went up and I spoke for like 5 minutes. So if you can help me watch, if you don't hear me, just say something. Okay. So good day to you all. I am truly honored to be here, connecting with people across the bountiful continent of Africa. Identity at its core is, actually before that, I would like to, sorry, I seem to be having a problem here. Just give me a minute, I'm so sorry. Okay, we're back. Sorry, technology. I must apologize and talk earlier. I'm having typical African problems. I don't have electricity in my house. I'm just using like a bright light. So please bear with me. So again, I would just like to empathize with our brothers and sisters across the region in Kenya. And I really pray for your safety and that the cause you're fighting for is fulfilled. And when that's successful, if you don't mind, you can also cross over to this great part of Africa. We kind of have the same problems and we need warriors, we need fighters. So yes, we are speaking identity. So identity at its core is how we define ourselves. And often these definitions are influenced by our upbringing, our society, and our personal experiences, to say the least. Identity is how we describe ourselves. It is what we tell ourselves about who we are. When we speak of identity, we must use describing words. If you remember in school, adjectives are describing words. So now that we understand that, let me introduce myself to the extent that is relevant for today's talk. I'm a happy, positive, curious woman on a continuous journey of awareness and development of both self and the ecosystem that surrounds me. My name is Pumla Nabacho, and I am deeply passionate about empowering individuals with a small bias towards women to unlock our fullest potential and achieve unparalleled success. So now that we know me a little better, let's contextualize success. Success should be an individualized concept. It isn't about meeting society's expectations, but achieving personal fulfillment. And personal fulfillment as defined and described by you. Because what true success really is, it should align with our inner values, with our passions, with our purpose, with our wellness. And remember, we've had this saying before, comparison is the thief of joy. So it is crucial we must define success not on our own terms, not on by Wanjiru's terms, not by Mukasa's terms, not by Adebayo's terms. Mukasa must define success according to Mukasa's standards. Wanjiru must define success according to Wanjiru's standards. Amuge must define success according to Amuge's standards. So now we're on the same page. We have the definitions in order. In the next 20 minutes, the shortest amount of time I've ever been given to speak, let's together embark on a journey of upgrading or shifting our identities to align with our dreams and our aspirations. Now let's start with the inner work. And I like the way Noella started, because I'm sure so many things that the other speakers are going to tell you about are more things to do on the outward. So I was happy when I was asked to speak first, because I'm an inner work kind of person. If I don't know 100% that people who I'm speaking to, I cannot give you a one-size-fits-all method of breaking limits and breaking barriers, because we are all different. So I want us to reach a certain point of inner work, and then I can give you the tools after that. So the inner work, the inner us, the core that really, really matters. Now back to the definition of identity. Who are you? And we've got to be careful with when we say who we are, because our definitions of ourselves are actually the thing that usually limits us. For instance, they ask you who you are. You go for an engagement that has nothing to do with the parents' conference or marriage conference, and you introduce yourself as a wife, as a mother, as a husband, as a father. It has nothing to do with your profession, and you introduce yourself as a doctor, as a businessman. But what does that mean to you? This is what you are. This is not who you are. Identity is who you are. The whats are roles, they are titles, if you may. Our identity is who we are, and who we are is shaped by our actions, by our habits, and by our constant behavior. Again, I'm going to keep asking this so that by the end of this conversation, you can answer the question, how do you describe you to yourself? So let's go here. So what we are trying to do today is to shift our identities to align with a vision of success that we hold in our hearts. And this might sound like motivation, but I swear to you, it's backed by neuroscience and psychology of human behavior. And these are reading interests that I have picked up during my personal development journey. So I want to start from here. I want to start from the brain. My belief system, I believe in science, I believe in neuroscience, I believe in psychology. And for me, when I say something, it has to make sense. When you say something to me, it has to make sense. So I've done a lot of reading and referencing from experts in both fields. And I align with certain things that I felt I should be able to share whenever I'm given a platform. So let's begin by understanding the brain. And I'm sure we have doctors in the room. I'm sure we have neurologists in the room. You can type in the chat where I've fallen short, or you can support, or you can add value in the chat. So I'm going to just explain this, how I understand it, paraphrasing and in my mind in a palatable way to you. Our brain is our most powerful organ, our most powerful tool. And it has two main missions. One is to survive, and the other one is to reproduce. The brain behaves in ways that protect it, and it behaves in a way for it to further its own agenda. So what our goal is today is to push our brains out of their comfort zone and convince it or trick it into working to allow us to thrive. So let's start here. The brain at its core functions based on habits and patterns, repetition mostly. So neuroscientists discovered that our thoughts, our emotions, our behaviors, our actions are deeply interconnected. And these form what we call neural pathways. Whenever they show like a nice diagram of the brain, there are so many like lines and wires going across. Those are neural pathways. And what these do is they influence how we perceive and interact with the world. So what the brain is able to do is to reorganize itself by forming new connections throughout its lifespan. So it doesn't matter what our age is, what our background is, what our past experiences are, we have the power to change our brain and consequently to change our lives. So this is the thing. After a certain point T, when you reach adulthood and your brain is fully formed, our pathways are set. So these neural pathways are set and we can't undo them. This is according to science. But what we can do is override those pathways by repetition and emotional intensity. Repetition meaning that by repeatedly telling yourself what you want to believe. And emotional intensity is taking that belief and believing in it so strongly in the core of our subconscious that you not only keep telling yourself, but you keep acting in ways that you believe. Because again, faith without works is useless. So initially, I'll tell you, the brain, again, because it likes habits and patterns, it likes familiarity. The brain does not like uncertainty. It doesn't like newness. That's why whenever we're trying something new, it's very easy for somebody else to come and tell us that, that one won't work. There, the brain is happy because it knows you're going to go back to your normal patterns and where it is familiar. So what we are trying to do now is to encourage you, when you start something new, you will face resistance. You will face resistance. And the people around you are bound to be catalysts into making you fail if you're not strong enough. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that the brain just wants repetition. It just wants you to say and do the same thing repeatedly. So you convince it that, that this is now all right. What the brain tries to do, it's like water. It takes the path of least resistance. So when you keep saying and behaving in a way that you really deeply believe, you create a new way of thought, you create a new pathway, and that pathway becomes so ingrained in your subconscious mind, it becomes your identity. And then your brain starts to align. Your brain stops using the other part that you thought of yourself. For example, if you thought maybe you're not confident, or you thought you're not worthy, or you thought you're not clever enough, or you're not deserving, if that's what your subconscious thought, that's the pathway that's been set. For you to override that pathway, you have to keep telling yourself, first of all, you've got to believe it. You don't just tell yourself that I'm confident and then you don't behave confidently. You must say it, you must think it, you must perceive it, and you must believe it. And then you must act on it. And then you create a new pathway for your brain to now use. So allow me to share a bit of my personal journey at this point. So I pounced upon what is called the attachment theory. And this hypothesizes that your early experiences and relationships with your parents or your caregivers influence how we bond and relate with other people. And on top of your early experiences, the way you relate with other people can also be influenced by your peer experiences. This is usually during adolescence or the teenage years, and then also traumatic experiences that might happen in your adulthood. So maybe very quickly, they gave me 20 minutes, but let me quickly rush through, quickly. So we have 4 main types, and the main one is that there's a secure attachment, and this is usually a secure attachment. So this is the way how you attach and relate with other people. So secure attachers are people who, in their infancy, they regularly had their needs met. So they grew up feeling competent, but they were also comfortable with their vulnerabilities to a certain degree. So in their adulthood, they are able to express their feelings and emotions openly, and they generally have healthy relationships. Then the other 3 are insecure types. There's the anxious preoccupied, there's the dismissive avoidant, and there's the one in between, which is the fearful avoidant. The anxious preoccupied, they received love sufficiently, but inconsistently. These are people who maybe had very hardworking parents. So when their parents were there or caregivers were there, they loved them. They were there 100%, gave them everything they needed. But when their parents were not there, they were not there. And that's it. So usually these people have a fear of abandonment. Those are the types of people when you're in a relationship and you don't pick up, you wake up in the morning and find 50 missed calls. And when you call them, they're so agitated, they're anxious, they're stressed out. And this happens in one night. Those are anxious attachers. And then you have dismissive avoidance. Dismissive avoidance usually means that they had some of their needs met when they were younger, but others which were more important to them. So their basic needs were met and there was love in their home, but the ones that were more important to them maybe were not met. So they feel a certain kind of neglect and there's a sense of being unseen. So one grows up detached. So they always feel that they don't need other people. They fend for themselves. They don't depend on other people for support because they always felt that their most inner needs were not met. So they learn to rely on themselves for support. And they tend to keep people at an arm's length so that they're not hurt. And then there's the last one, the fearful ones, the fearful avoidance. And this one is usually hinged on mistrust. And this one is a tricky one because they oscillate between the avoidant and the anxious. So these are the types of people who, that as children, they kind of were neglected because their parents had some kind of issues, like alcohol or substance abuse, or maybe their parents left the country to go and work and left them here, or maybe their parents went to go and study for long periods of time and left them here. So they often feel neglected, and when it comes to their adulthood, they felt neglected growing up. And when it comes to their adult selves, they kind of oscillate between, I want intimacy and I also want independence in their relationship, which is a little confusing. So those are the 3 main attachment styles. So I learned that I had a dismissive avoidant attachment style. So I kept people at an emotional distance to protect myself from being hurt. And this stemmed from a mother wound where I just couldn't measure up to the expectations of my highly academic and perfect mother. And so while I did receive love in my home, love full, I'm a child of love, but my mother's love was highly dependent on extreme measures of discipline, extreme expectations of high discipline and academic performance, typical African home. So both of these things I fell short of in my mother's eyes. So that created some kind of mother wound with me that I never fit to her expectations. So let me just detach, because this is the person who's hurting me the most. My caregiver is hurting me, is not seeing that I'm trying because I'm not reaching her level of expectation. So let me just pour that relationship. But what that does is means that you're going to pour the other relationships. But I learned over time that I was able to kind of work on that wound a little bit. And then that wound got crushed again a little later. And then this is where my story is. So while I thought I was working on my mother wound, I got a father wound. So I got little background story. I got married when I was 23, which is a little young for the current landscape. And within a period of 3 years, I had started my career job. I had had my first child. I had got separated. I had stayed on my own as a single mother. I had paid rent and catering to my own bills for the first time. I had gone through an exhausting divorce process, and then eventually became a divorced mother, co-parenting with an ex-husband who was, as expected, struggling a little more emotionally than I was. Because remember, my avoidant attachment style allowed me to detach quicker so that I couldn't get hurt during the process. But this avoidant attachment reached its peak when I received a phone call from my father. So another background story, my father and I, for the most part, we had a very close relationship. It was loving, extremely supportive. It was the kind I would wish every girl had with her dad. My dad was the first feminist I knew. My dad supported me. He taught me my value. We had the greatest bond. So while I was going through what I say now is the worst 3 years of my life, because of my age, most of my friends were still living their best lives. We were young. And so they were not equipped to support me. The ones who were married were still going through that tumultuous first years of marriage that I had run away from. So they couldn't offer any support. Then I'm the firstborn girl in my family, which renders my younger sisters equally incapacitated to help me. So where did I seek refuge? In my parents. And strangely, given our relationship, it's my mom who leaned into me. You know, misery loves company. Women become closer to their mothers, and after they become wives and mothers themselves, when they are struggling, that's when you find women connecting more to their mothers. So our relationship really had improved over time. My father, who was my bestie, who was my rock, on the other hand, has always cared so deeply what society thinks about him. So he in many words said that, so really what happened is that he felt that he couldn't go out in public with a divorcee as a daughter. So when I did reach out to him, remember, this is my rock, this is my person. So when I did reach out to him, he in many words said, Pumla, if you've chosen this path, I hope you know that you're on your own now. It was the hardest statement that I'd ever had in my life. It burned me to the core. I didn't talk to my father. I hung up. Like when he said that, I was like, oh, wow. Because I was not backtracking. They had raised me to be independent, to take full control of my decisions. And now when I make a decision that's so pertinent to me is when they decide to drop me, unless I make a decision that's more favorable to them. I said, I'm sorry. My happiness comes first. I was 24 years old at the time. I put down the phone and I didn't speak to my dad for 1.5 months. So he didn't even see his grandchild for that period. And his wife could only see me for quick periods and in secret because she followed her husband's leadership. So this period, it shook my life so much that it pushed me into a corner where I now identified as an island. I could do anything and everything on my own. I didn't need others to support me. I detached completely from my connections emotionally. I was present physically, but literally turned off emotionally. And no disrespect to people of the faith, but even my sexual relationships, because I was sexually active, but I had no real link, no inkling of emotion. So I identified as detached, extremely independent, and super reliant. And while those words seem like, oh, that's not too bad, they're extremely terrible as a human being. Human beings were designed for connection. So while, yes, I might agree that some of these things protected me from being hurt, this also meant that I was missing out on the full experience of loving and being loved. Time passed. time went by, and I realized that it isn't time that heals wounds. No, it is the deliberate effort over time to heal that heals wounds. Because it had been ingrained in my subconscious years ago that I mess up, because my mom had told me that I do mess up, I believed that I do mess up. And because I believed that I messed up, that became my identity. I just believed that I messed up. And for the more that I believed it, I did continue messing up. And then this rendered her ideology true, because I just kept messing up. But then when I did a lot of reading and soul searching, and I understood that it was within my power to trick my brain into thinking different, I started to tell myself that I am deserving of being loved for me, not for my achievements, and not the way I show up for other people, just for me, and that I was enough. And that's when I started working on my inner self. And because the brain likes repetition, I started repeatedly acting like the person I wanted to be, a much better version of me. And see, this is something I like to tell people. We can't keep blaming our past of the things that happened to us a while ago or in our childhood. We can't keep blaming our past experiences on who we are today, because after a certain point T, we must do the work. We are the work. Science says that there's a point T when your brain is fully developed. And this is when the frontal cortex, this is the front of the brain, the part of the brain which is responsible for reasoning, for decision-making, and for self-control. That's when that's when your brain becomes fully developed. And they say that age of 25. So they say this is 25 plus or minus 2 years. So from 21 years and older, you are the creator of your circumstances. You are no longer a victim of them. So we must be able to take responsibility for our healing, for our growth, for our realities, for our identities. And imagine, my consequence was small detachment. People have been raised or have experienced real trauma. People have been brought up in poverty. Poverty is a traumatic experience. Not knowing what you're going to eat, where your next meal is going to come from, having to work as a child to tend to your basic needs, to get money to tend to your basic needs, having been grown up in a home of abuse, emotional, physical, sexual neglect, having unstable parents, depressed, mentally ill parents, substance abusing, alcoholic parents. People have been brought up in war. People have been refugees. People have been resettled into places far from home. We all have stories to tell, and by fire, we must tell them. But we also must be doing the work to heal the damage, to stop the internal bleeding, and to also stop bleeding on people who did not cut us. So the realization that I am the work, and I must be accountable for my healing and growth was pivotal in reinventing my identity. So we can speak about upgrading our identity, but there's those of us who have to first reinvent our identity. And yes, so identity again is a culmination of actions that eventually become our habits. So if you want to identify as per your religious or your culture or your political beliefs, then your habits must align. When you tell me that you are a Christian, what do you mean? Because we've seen corrupt Christians and they are given front pews in church. So who are you truly within? Are you loving? Are you joyful? Are you patient? Are you kind? Are you peaceful? Are you good? Are you faithful? Are you gentle? Do you practice self-control? If you present yourself as an African, or a Chikuyu, or a Chaga, or a Tusi, or a Yoruba, or a Muganda, describe what that means. Are you respectful? Are you hardworking? Do you have a sense of unity, a sense of community? Don't tell me what you are. Tell yourself who you are, and then upgrade that identity to the most respectful, the most hardworking version of yourself, with a deep sense of unity, with a deep sense of community, because the only way we can be successful is by repeatedly being the person you say you want to be. And that is it. And so up-identify. So people like to talk about upskilling, but there's up-identifying. So you can up-identify and upskill simultaneously. So you're saving money. You want to start a business and you've been saving money, and maybe you've now started this startup. Are you saving to recapitalize your business, or are you eating the money? Your actions and your habits must show what you believe, what you want to be. You want to be a renowned author, or you want to start a podcast. Are you a great communicator? Are you relevant? Are you dynamic? Are you working on those skills? Are you working on those qualities, on those traits? Are you being the person today that you want to be tomorrow? Because that's the inner you. 5 in 10 businesses fail because people have told you, just start. But they are not telling you what to start on. Start working on yourself towards being the entrepreneur, towards being the great wife, towards being the great mother, the great author, the great business person. Work on the qualities that make you those people. So let me tell you another story very, very quickly. In the process of re-identifying, so as I said before, that sometimes how you identify can also limit you. Noella hinted on this earlier. And funny story, there was a time in my life when identifying as a woman was limiting to me. Why? Because in the African context, women are nurturers, not providers. So I found myself in a space where, as a primary parent to my child, and by the way, his father was satisfactorily providing for him, but while I was married to him, he was providing for me as well. He said, I didn't touch my money. But now I found that I had to do a lot of heavy lifting. It was time to provide sustainable shelter and security for myself and my child. I had found myself shifting. I lived and rented places every year because there was something about the places that we were renting that I felt was not secure, that was not what I wanted. And I found myself in a place when I'm saying, I have no roots for my child. So I started to contemplate building a home, and I started to seek guidance. But you know that guidance of when you're asking, I'm sure we all have these friends who come to us and ask for guidance and then they do what they want. So I was that friend. I would ask people for guidance, but I would still pay another year's rent and go stay somewhere. Until one day I was like, you know what? I don't like where I am right now. I have moved in 4 different places in 4 years. I need to settle down. I have a child. So I contemplated with the option of becoming a homeowner, and my brain fought me. Because even though I was raised in a progressive environment, I didn't know a single woman close to me or in my life who had ever built their own house. And definitely not one who had built their own house under the age of 30. So because this was unfamiliar, I struggled for a while. And then I realized that it is because of the masculine role of provision is so institutionalized in my subconscious. The woman title could not see beyond the intensive labor and the involvement, and might I dare say, the wife's old tale of which man will ever approach you or date you or marry you when you have your own house. But see, our teachings forgot to include scenarios where women actually do end up alone and choose to be independent, if not forever, for at least a while. So you know what I did? I just started to identify as a person. I stripped myself of the woman title because I felt it was easier to strip off the woman title than keep repeating in my head that I can do this, because I had said I can do this for 3 years and it was just not. And then I realized my subconscious is because I'm identifying as an African woman. And as an African woman, I've been taught that I must be provided for. I can't build my own house. I don't know I have no data. So I just stripped the title of woman, and I started to identify as a person who needed a sustainable and logical way within my means to provide shelter and security for my child and myself. And then I started to act on it. And just over a year later, I became a homeowner. And then that old wives' tale of can you attract? And imagine, because I had upgraded my identity, the men I started to attract, the suitors I started to attract were of higher value. Because when you upgrade yourself, I tell people all the time, when you're going for a date, if you're using a border, tell the border to stop you far, to stop you somewhere. Let him not reach the gate so that your date sees you on the border, because that is the level that date is going to look at you, full stop. So you must position yourselves as high value women. If you want to attract high value communities around you, you must position as a high value woman. So because I had upgraded my identity, I started to attract high value men. So, and just to finish off this story, I re-identified as a woman after that later, because right now I'm in my feminine era. Playing masculine roles became exhausting for me. So I've started to find a comfortable balance. And because I'm working on my avoidant personality, I'm now able to ask more people for help. I've realized I'm not an island. I'm able to lean into my partner or my brother or my male colleagues or my male community, or at least I have the financial independence to pay for people to do for me masculine things that I don't want to do. And just to tell you, because we're mostly women here, money might not buy happiness, but it is truly important. It's an important ingredient in upgrading ourselves to financially be independent and ultimately financially free. But that's a whole session for another day. So we've talked about visualization. So now we're on the tools, the real steps. We've talked about you have to practice, visualize your goals, and they must be specific. You must write them down. You must define them. What do you want to be? So imagine that person. And while you're imagining that person, then you must start acting like that person. So when you frequently envision your future self, and then you embody the traits of the successful self you want to be, you trick yourself into believing that you're already that person. So this is the funny thing about the clever brain. The clever brain cannot tell the difference between what you have thought of many times and what you've actually done. It can't tell the difference. So when you keep thinking of something and then you actually start to do it, the brain doesn't resist you because you thought about it so much, it feels like this is normal. That's why if you think too much about your problems, more problems come because the brain gives you what you want. So the more you think about something, the more you get. So if you think good, you get good. If you think bad, you get bad. So the future is not going to be what you want. The future is going to be who you are. So just act like the future that you actually want. The next one has been talked about all the time, positive self-talk. So the way we talk to ourselves matters. And you must have a positive mindset. That's the only thing that gives you abundance, because your thoughts have power. Our thoughts become our emotions, which become our words, which become our actions, which become our habits, which becomes our identity. And our identity becomes our reality. So replace your self-doubt with self-encouragement. And I swear to you, if you start to cultivate a positive mindset, you will only attract positive outcomes. Then Atomic Habits, there's a book I read called Atomic Habits, and you look for micro habits that you can change about yourself. Small things. If you want to identify as somebody who likes their body and is healthy, then start by eating a fruit instead of bacon and eggs and sausages for breakfast. Like, just start on the small things and then keep doing that every day. The most important one to me, the most important tool is gratitude. Be grateful. Practicing gratitude shifts our focus from the things that we lack to the things that we have. So instead of thinking that, oh, grumpy Monday, be thankful that the day didn't start without you. Be thankful for the job you have to go to. Be thankful that you have transportation, regardless of what it looks like. Be thankful that for the gift of a new day. So be thankful. This shift in our perspective. I'm winding up. Just one more minute. So this shift in our perspective attracts more positive experiences into our lives. So just to remember, shifting your identity is not about becoming somebody else. It's just about uncovering your true self. And that's all it is. So I just want us to remember that the journey to success starts with us. It starts with a single step and it starts with us. So I hope that this has been a starter and has given us something to think about as we embark on our journey of breaking limits and being the best version of ourselves. I could speak for hours if given the time, but let me stop there, and I hope you picked
We could
something.
also listen for hours. That was amazing. Guys, join me to give a big hand clap to Pumla. That was amazing. It was not just inspiring, but it was also backed up, you know? So I like something that you said, when you're 25 plus, you're the creator of your circumstances. So just in case you're here on this call and you're 25 plus and still saying, my father, my mother, my boyfriend, my ex, my grandmother, the witch of my father's house, my unfriendly friends, whoa, your balloon has just been burst. 25 plus, you are the creator of your circumstances. So we shall only just take 3 questions. So the people who joined us early are in the Zoom room. you get the opportunity of actually asking questions. So just post 3 questions that I will allow Pumla to answer as we get ready for Lydia. She also talked about something interesting. She said that to upgrade, you need to reinvent. I liked that. Okay, so some of you, just in case you're thinking of upgrading, probably the first thing you need to do is I'm waiting for the questions. Please, do you deal with imposter syndrome? Elizabeth Igaga, stay with us. Lydia Waithera, who is our next speaker, is actually going to deal with imposter syndrome. There's something also interesting that I noticed, that Pumla is very intentional about her growth. So you guys will just be there seeing her thinking she's enjoying life. Hey, woman is reading. Huh? And I could already notice 2 books that she's reading. She already mentioned one, which is Atomic Habits. The other book that she also mentioned is, she didn't mention it, but I know it's a book called Attached, and I want to recommend it. The guys who are in the group, the guys who are in the WhatsApp group, we are going to try to get you that book. Attached is by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. It's a very powerful book. I think that's one of the books that will help to reinvent. I could see she started to reinvent herself by understanding who exactly she is. And then she says we have to do the work. So just in case if you're thinking that pastor is going to lay his hands on you and all of a sudden your identity is upgraded, hey, smell the coffee. Pumla has just told us that you need to do the work. Thank you so much, Pumla. That was amazing. So I don't see any questions on this side. So let us move on to our next guest speaker. But just in case a question comes your way, please, even those people on YouTube, send those questions. We shall be able to get those questions, be able to send them to Pumla, and she'll be able to answer them. We shall be able to share the answers to those questions. Pumla, thank you once again for that rich presentation, valuable, backed up with knowledge. We are not just going to say we're upgrading for, we know that we have to reset our brains to give us the life that we want. So if you're ready to upgrade your identity, just type in the comment section, I'm doing the work. If you're ready, just type in the comment section, I'm doing the work. Those who are ready, just type in the comment section, I'm doing the work as I get to introduce our next session. Yes, I see. Amanda from Rwanda has said, I'm doing the work. Daisy from Uganda is saying, I'm doing the work. Henrietta is saying, I'm doing the work. Oh yes, Gloria Nakami is saying, the work I'm doing. Deborah Nambasa is saying, I'm going to do the work. Oh yes, ladies, Gloria Sekenya is saying, I'm going to do the work. Fortunate says, I'm going to do the work. Maggie Chihunde says, I'm going to do the work. Yes, ladies, we can't upgrade without the work. Let's go do the work. Let's go read those books. Let's go start our journeys. Let's go change our stories, because when we change our stories, we can change other people's lives. The reason Pumla is here today speaking about her stories because she did her work. She did her work, and so we are enjoying the transformed her. She could have died with her father's identity of her. She could have been, frustrated with her father's identity of her. She did the work, and we're enjoying the healed and revived and upgraded Pumla. Thank you so much, Pumla. So stay with me. Once we come from Pumla's, yes, you can upgrade identity, and then imposter syndrome, like Pumla's, what was hitting Pumla there in the house was imposter syndrome. Who owns the house at before 30? So Lydia Ziwa is going to take us in our next session on crushing the imposter syndrome. So let me take this opportunity to just introduce her, and I trust Emma is going to share with me her profile. So I'll just be reading about Lydia, get to know who Lydia is, another powerful speaker all the way from Kenya. Yes, so Emma, are you ready? Okay, so Emma is ready. Let's know who Lydia is. Lydia Ziwa. So people are probably wondering, you said Kenya, but she's Ziwa. She's Lydia Waithera Ziwa. So she found love in Uganda. I tell you, in Uganda, there are beautiful things. The people from Nigeria, the people from Ghana, and from the rest of the world, I'm encouraging you, just in case you are still single and searching, come to the Pearl of Africa. Lydia came all the way from Kenya. She left all the good men in Kenya and came to pick one in Uganda. All right, let me continue. Lydia Ziwa is the director of the Love Foundation Kenya, a faith and community-based organization whose mission is to spread God's love through kind gestures to the elderly and vulnerable children. She has over 15 years experience working in project management and administration. She has a rich experience working as a communications liaison officer for USAID-funded projects. Lydia has shown great service for her nation by equipping youth in becoming the best version of themselves in different learning institutions and programs across her country. Lydia is an alumni of the University of Kenya, where she graduated with a master's in community development. She has a bachelor's in sociology from Catholic University of Eastern Africa. She is called to equip, inspire, and encourage leaders, and is currently the East African coordinator to Beyond Success East Africa. This is a life-changing legacy program by Dr. John Maxwell, a world-renowned leadership expert. The program seeks to offer personal development and transformational leadership. Lydia is based in Nairobi, Kenya. She's married to Reverend Richard Zimbalis, and they are blessed with 3 children, Gavin, David, and Zani. Oh, Lydia, people in the comment section are already saying, we can't wait to drink from your cup. Wisdom. Lydia, you're warmly welcome to take us on. Thank you so much.
Wow, thank you so much, Lydia, my namesake, for just that awesome introduction. Thank you, Pumla, for opening us up so well. I just love listening to you, what you brought about with, your story. You're so authentic, you're so real. And for me, when you're sharing that story, I think you've done part of my presentation on the imposter syndrome. I'll just be sharing my screen. Please enable me to share. Yeah, so when you talk about the imposter syndrome, it's, being in that place, by sharing your story, Pumla, being in that place where you disqualify yourself, you discredit yourself because of your gender, because of your race, because of your, your academic qualification. And in most cases, you find that you actually self-sabotage yourself when you're saying, I can't do this because I'm a woman. I can't, I can't be part of this group. Even sometimes you realize that if you're invited into a particular circle of friends and you're saying, that's not for me because, I'm not good enough, I'm not tall enough, I'm not beautiful enough because of the people who are in that place. So every time I'm asked to speak about the imposter syndrome, in most cases, you see if the reverse is true, when you're giving motivation about believing in yourself, in most cases, you see yourself, it's the cat who sees themselves as a lion. But when it's an imposter syndrome, you see the cat. Everyone sees a very big person on the outside, but inside yourself, you see yourself as that small pussy cat who cannot do much. So the imposter syndrome normally sets in on the reverse, where people see you as successful, they see you as, you're doing well, but inside yourself, you don't believe in yourself. So if I'll just bring in the definition, it's where, sorry, let me just minimize this. It's why you have these thoughts of feeling that you don't deserve it, not good enough, despite evidence of the contrary. You have those deep ingrained feelings of unworthiness. And this can manifest in both social and professional circles. You find people in home settings, in professional circles. You are an MD, you are a CEO, but deep down inside, you feel like a fraud. It's like you are not meant to be in that position. And the most interesting thing is that I've listened to many people. This experience actually manifests and comes up, it's actually manifests in our lives in different points of our lives. Even people who appear so competent, so high functioning, they struggle at some point with the imposter syndrome. Then again, it also reflects as self-doubt and self-sabotage. One of the researchers has defined the 4 P's of the imposter syndrome as people pleasing, perfectionism, paralysis, and procrastination. In other words, you find yourself either you flee, you fight, or you just freeze. You're in a position where you're supposed to take up responsibility, and you end up doing so much because you want to please people, because deep down inside you think that you just got there by luck. I'll be sharing my own story as I just go ahead with this, because the reality is that the imposter syndrome can set at any stage of your life. And I love what Dr. Valerie has brought in about the imposter, the types of the imposter syndrome. And one of them is a perfectionist. You end up overworking or either procrastinating to seek 100%. John Maxwell talks about the timing gap. You never feel like it's the best time to start. In case you want to start a housing project like Nopumla was sharing, you feel like, I have to achieve perfection. I have to get the funds. I have to, have everything in place before I start. And guess what? That never happens, and you end up, just delaying to start something because you are highly perfectionist. Then again, you have the do it all. You believe that you can't delegate, or you also cannot say no. You're in a place where you always think that you're the only one who can do it the way you want to. Sometimes, Shelley, if even like a mom, sometimes I would find myself like when I'm having a house help who's helping me at home, I end up even doing the same work she has done because I think she has not done it to my level of perfection. Or maybe I think I can do it all. And you end up being so tired and being so grumpy and miserable because you never allow anyone else to help you. And again, it can come out as an expert. This is very interesting. There are people who believe that they expect themselves to know it all. It's not even in your field. Someone asks you something in IT, you expect to know it all. And for sure, you cannot know it all. And you have a sense of guilt and shame in case you don't know all that is being, required of you. And again, another type of imposter is a soloist, where you reject help so that you prove your individual worth and not share any credit. You met people who, they have done so much and they end up rejecting help so that they feel worth if they have done everything. People like even simply in a family party or a family gathering, they cook, they clean, they do everything. And at the end of the day, it's because they want to prove their individual worth and not share any credit. So that when everyone is eating the chicken and they're like, who made the chicken? They're like, they just feel so nice when everyone is complimenting on the chicken, the rice, the matoke, that place of where you just want to prove your worth by not sharing any credit. Then you have the natural genius. These are kind of people who believe that if you have to put extra effort, you're not good at it. That implies that they will not try, they will feel like they are not good enough because it's not naturally, they're not applying their natural genius in whatever they're called upon to do. It could be even in, maybe in singing, and you're asked maybe to join the choir. So if you feel that you have to put extra effort, you're not good at it, those end up even leaving the choir because they feel that they are not naturally, doing it to perfection. Interesting. I know most of you here are already seeing how it has manifested in your life of the imposter syndrome. One way is thinking you don't deserve a promotion or raise despite the qualification and experience. I'll share a personal experience. When I left campus and I got my first job, within a very short time, I was promoted. Actually within 3 months, I was promoted. One, I was young from campus. I found older people. I found more men in the organization. And I felt like I didn't deserve that promotion. And now the weird part of when the manifestation of the imposter syndrome, I was given a raise and I was not informed. So I just realized in my pay slip that they had like doubled my salary and they had not told me. So guess what I did? The imposter syndrome set in. I went to the admin and I told them that they have given me the wrong pay. And that's not my pay. She looked surprised, but because I was in an interesting organization where people are paid based on how the manager feels or the boss feels. So I thought because I had been given my letter and given my salary, that's what I was expecting, but not because I had a different, pay reflecting. I went and disqualified myself. I actually said, this is not my pay. And guess what? I think they were happy and thought this must be a very unique or maybe very foolish or stupid person. They reverted to my old pay. And that's what I knew. I didn't even have a name for it then, but I knew how you can self-sabotage yourself because of an imposter syndrome. You know, it even happens when you're asked to, a promotion and you're asked to take up a position and you end up saying, it's not for me. And you are qualified for it. But the syndrome sets in and you disqualify yourself, even refuse to take up that position with a better pay, with better terms because of the imposter syndrome. Then again, you're second guessing yourself, feeling like a fraud every time you go into that space. You're insecure about your performance. This is very key, initially based on maybe or even on gender, because like I noticed, we have a lot of women in this call. You find that you are so insecure about your performance, you're second guessing yourself and feeling like a fraud. Everyone is celebrating what you're doing, but you feel like it's only by luck that you're in that position. Then also feeling out of place. You're in these circles, and even though your grades are good or even you're better than the people in that space, you end up feeling that you don't deserve it. Actually, the manifestation of the imposter syndrome is mainly feeling of not deserving it. Then also disregarding compliments after an achievement and seeking to show others your mistakes. This is so interesting, like you find that you have been working out, maybe you're looking better, you've lost some weight, but because of the imposter syndrome, someone compliments you, you start actually telling them, no, you haven't even seen, my tummy is still not, they're already telling you you're looking nice, but you want to discredit what they've told you by showing you mistakes or showing that you're not as good as they think you are. The worst is sabotaging a relationship because you think you don't deserve the person. You heard Lydia saying the way I got a husband from Uganda. The Pearl of Africa has amazing men. In case you are searching, that's a good place to look into. So my story was very interesting. I'd been in a relationship where I would say I was put down. I was rejected and, told some very weird things, like I'm not a wife material. So I'm still 15 years later, I'm still wondering what that material is made of, because I was told I'm not a wife material. So I can imagine, I meet this amazing man from Uganda, and he's showing me all this love, telling me I'm an amazing person. Then my imposter syndrome sets in. I start feeling this man is too good for me. He's just too polite. He's just, a gentleman, because I felt like I didn't deserve a very good person. And it's because of I almost ended up sabotaging this relationship because I was not used to that kind of a treatment. And I'd spoken to myself that maybe I'm not good enough. That's why I lost the other relationship. So I know of people who have sabotaged their relationship, called off engagements, not because the person is bad, but because they feel I don't deserve this person. I'm not good enough. So it can manifest in a way that, you self-sabotage your relationship. You lose out on such amazing people, because even friendships, because you feel you don't deserve the kind of person who's coming to your life. I love the last part. There is hope. You can crush the imposter syndrome. Knowing that you're not alone, as we speak here tonight, we have, you're getting to see this profile and you're like, wow. And you're wondering, can I get to such a place? Just know some of us, I just love the authenticity that Pumla, came out with, that some of the people you actually admire, they have had to cope with it. One of them is someone like the poet Maya Angelou. Successful as she was, she had to cope with this imposter syndrome at every point of her life. And again, examining the root cause and accept it. One of it is, I think Pumla has really shared deeply on that, on the background. Examine it and accept it. You can't be in a place where you're always blaming your past. Accepting it and knowing that there is hope, and you can actually cope and live with it. Looking at the big picture is very key, and starting with the small steps of collaboration. Connect with people, delegate, work with other people, especially if you're the kind of person who's a perfectionist, who wants to work alone because you find your self-worth in being celebrated. Collaborate with other people. Then beat procrastination by showing up and saying yes. For me, this has been a constant in my life, because I've had to learn to say yes. Even when Coach Bahati told me about this, speaking on this engagement, the old me who could not tell the imposter is setting in, I would have said no at first. But now I have learned to say yes to new opportunities and learn the loops along the way. I may not be perfect. I don't wait for perfection, but I learn the loops along the way. But the first thing I do to myself, I show up and beat procrastination. Again, I would say be a lifelong learner. Get a mentor. Always just admit don't just rely on the natural talent alone. Get a mentor, have someone you're accountable to, you can share, you can be candid with and tell them, I reject, I self-sabotage myself, and this is affecting my career, my profession, my family. Just have someone you can talk to. Give yourself permission. If you don't live with anything in this call, please give yourself permission and keep a track of your success. I love the story of King David when he was facing Goliath. Everyone was despising him, looking down upon him, but I can say King David did not have an imposter syndrome. He showed up, small as he was, and he was talking about how he has dealt with the bears and the lions before he faced this giant. So King David is an example of someone who had managed to even overcome and crush the imposter syndrome. You look at people in the Bible like Gideon. The first thing he said, he was asked to do a big assignment and he looked down upon himself. That's a sign of an imposter syndrome. But King David, he kept a track record of his success and he gave himself a mission to face the giants. Be kind to yourself if you're a perfectionist. At all time, be kind to yourself. What are you saying to yourself? I have what I call the I am statements. And I love, even as I'm winding up on this, please just come up with just indicate your I am statements. I always start saying identity. Who are you saying that you are? Before I call you out, who are you saying that you are? I love saying I'm an equiper. I'm a positive person. I'm an encourager. I'm a go-getter. I am blessed. I'm highly favored. You can have as many as you can the I am statement. So come up with yours, develop it, have a whole page of it. Keep on talking to yourself, because if you're beating yourself down, even if you tell you're the best speaker, you're the best cook, you're the best mom, you're the best wife, or you're the best, accountant or lawyer, and you are saying the negative talk to yourself, you will end up sabotaging what actually you're trying to gain. So please be kind to yourself. Crush the imposter syndrome by doing it afraid, doing it now, doing it with others, and developing your I am statements. I just love this. I think I have developed over and over my I am statements. Then again, as someone who is a great follower, a mentee of John Maxwell, one of the songs he had is that I picked this from his song, and he said, I had to learn how to get out of my way, to find myself, to know myself, to be myself, to improve myself, to get over myself so I can give myself to you. One thing which is very clear is that you cannot give yourself to others. You cannot become the best version of yourself. You cannot be adding value to other people. You cannot be the gift that you are called to be for mankind if you don't get over yourself. The imposter syndrome is crushed by getting over yourself. Be in a place where when you asked to take up a responsibility, instead of always thinking about yourself, how will I look? How will I sound? Am I good enough? Is my presentation, perfect? First of all, get over yourself so that you can give yourself to other people. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Wow. Get over yourself. Now, if you've been there and you're still getting in your way, today Lydia has told us to get over ourselves. Now, I'm an action woman. I'm not even going to wait for you. Start sending your questions. But if you don't have a question, let us get into the chat room and start writing those I ams, okay? Start writing those I ams in the comment section already. We're not going to wait for the call to end for you to start typing, I am this, I am this. We're going to start it tonight. So tell yourself, I am the next boss of my office. I am the this and this. Start telling yourself. Can I see some I ams in the comment sections? Oh yes, Winnie says, I'm a conqueror. Molly says, I'm a pioneer. Chinwe says, I'm a nurturer. I'm blessed. My God, so many. Gloria Sekenya says, I am a game changer. Oh yes, I like to do things practically. I don't want you to wait and forget. So tonight we have just started, but Lydia has encouraged, that we need to do that every day. Someone is saying, I'm a trendsetter. I am loved. Wow, Lydia, thank you so much for reminding us about that. And then she also said something that gets a mentor. You know, when I personally look at my life, the kind of things that I've been able to overcome, I notice there has been someone cheering me on. There has been someone believing in me. There's been someone saying, Lydia, you can do it. It's very hard. Many times it's very hard to overcome imposter syndrome without someone telling you, you know what, you're doing this right, you can do this better. So I want to encourage you as part of your action points as you leave this place. Number one, I am statements. Number two, get a mentor. Number three, get over yourself, get out of your way and allow yourself to shine. Thank you so much, Lydia. Pumla. I am an advisor to the governor of the Central Bank of Uganda. Pumla, you're not a simple woman. Oh, yes. When we see it, I will tell you, I'll remind you, woman, you say this on the 26th of June, 2024. That is what we mean by our I am statements. And Pumla, I also want to continue thanking you for being such an amazing speaker. You have stayed in the comment section to actually give personal answers to the people who have asked the questions. So thank you so much for not just giving value, but staying to continue giving us giving answers to the people who had asked questions. Walala, I'm the next president of Uganda. Museveni should have had this because we also don't like these taxes. All right, thank you so much. If there are any questions, Lydia, like Pumla, will continue to answer these questions in the comment section. So, are you liking it? If you're liking it, tonight we are closing down with Amanda from Rwanda with an agenda. With an agenda to do what? To help us, you know, rise from our mistakes. Like I told you guys, I've made expensive mistakes. And sometimes my father has also told me, you've made expensive mistakes. But like Pumla, I've believed that my mistakes shall be my rising ground. So if you're there and you've made expensive mistakes like me, relax. Let's listen to Amanda from Rwanda with an agenda to help us learn how we can actually convert those mistakes into stepping stones to get us to our next level. I'll ask Emma to send me Amanda's profile. Let's get to know who Amanda from Rwanda is, from the land of the beautiful hills. The people from West Africa, I'm not just talking about East Africa because I want you to come. It's a beautiful place. Come to Rwanda. If you've not seen beautiful hills, you will see some very beautiful hills, a clean city, a nice place to be. Noella, don't worry. Sandra, you'll have an opportunity to tell me what I should look forward to in Nigeria. But right now, because I am the moderator from East Africa, I will tell you about East Africa so that you guys can have a great time with us. So who is our next guest speaker? Amanda Nazirine Mihogo is the co-founder of the Inner Hub, where she leads with passion to unlock individuals' potential. She also serves as the country coordinator for the Beyond Success program, impacting thousands in Rwanda and around the world, with a background in healthcare and commitment to community transformation. Amanda is a compassionate leader, inspiring others to blossom into their best self. So if you have not been blossoming, stay with me for the last 20 minutes. Let's see how you can blossom from your mistakes. Amanda, you're warmly welcome to give us our last presentation of today. Before Amanda comes, just in case you're planning to go away, please don't go away. Tomorrow we continue at the same time, 8 p.m. East African time. Now that we have crushed this, tomorrow we start building businesses, irresistible businesses. Working on yourself is part one. Building is the second part. Tomorrow we shall start building. Amanda, over to you to take us through building from our mistakes.
Thank you very much. Unless someone has not made a mistake, then please don't leave, because this is cross-cutting for everyone. I won't even ask who made a mistake here. Everyone has. And thank you for the warm welcome, Lydia. Thank you to the speakers, Lydia and Pumla. That was powerful. Thank you very much to Noella for this beautiful vision she has that we are all finding ourselves in. And thank you especially to everyone who is here. We are now 92, and the ones on YouTube who are choosing to invest in themselves at a time like this. What a beautiful time to be in. I would like to share my screen. Please give me the permission. Perfect. Yes, so we're going to be building from our mistakes, but since I'll be talking about my mistakes, feel free to laugh at some of the mistakes that I've made, but especially learn from the ones that are significant. And let's build so that we can break the limits and become our best versions. I am Amanda from Rwanda, and I am a believer. So when Pumla said about how we identify, I was like, should I change the way I identify myself? But this is what I love. I am a believer. This is really who I am. And I am a wife, and I am a mother, and I do this where at Beyond Success, where we lead people towards successful lives and become more significant. At Inner Hub, we also help people to be highly competent and be character driven. But at the core of my heart, what I really love is to blossom. Now, before I forget, I have to say that when Lydia put up the lyrics to that song, it's what really was going on in my head of I have to get over myself so that I can be able to give myself to you. It's a beautiful song that, well, if you are participative enough, then I can sing it for you. Hello. So let us blossom. And I think the theme of today is going to be about breathing and building. Now you can say that I've been breathing for 30, 40 years of my life. What are you talking about, Amanda, by saying we breathe and we build? We are building from our mistakes, but there is something that has to happen. So, for example, I was learning how to drive and I got my husband's car. It was raining, it was slippery, and then as I was driving as a newbie, I climbed a cliff. So I nearly crashed us into death. I froze on the steering wheel. I'm like, I am going to kill my family because I'm a newbie. So I shook, he ran out to see the damage that I had caused, typical female thing. And then as he was outside, I started breathing. I'm like, so first of all, the first instinct was, I need to get out, I need to let him drive. But then I breathed. I'm like, I got this. I collected my mind. I breathed in. By the time he came back, he was like, do you want me to drive? I'm like, no. I knew the risk ahead was even much, much greater than where we were because it was raining, it was slippery, it was a very bad road. I was like, I got this. In my heart, I didn't got anything. But I told him, I got this, boy, let's go. Then we went, well, since I'm here, it is a good proof that I didn't crash us into death. But this is the power of breathing. Now, all of us in the comfort of your home, in your car, at the office, wherever you are, you're going to work with me in this exercise. We are going to breathe. Okay? We are going to breathe, but it's going to be a deep breath. So at the sound, you're going to breathe in, and at the sound, you're going to breathe out. We're going to do it 3 times. Please do it. Don't just hide behind the camera. Do it. Please breathe. Now, let's go. We begin. At the sound, we shall breathe in and we shall breathe out. As you breathe in, visualize that you're breathing in new beginning, new air, positivity, and then breathe out the negative energy. All right, now let us breathe. Perfect, perfect. I hope we are feeling much more relaxed. It has been quite a day and we're learning a lot, and thank you, ladies. And now this is going to put us in a relaxed mood because mistakes can be stressing, can't they? Speaking of mistakes, let me tell you how now I got a driving license after I tried to crash my husband into oblivion. One of the hardest things, every Rwandan on the call can testify to this. One of the hardest things is to get a driving license in Rwanda. Now, because I had been driving, I had been practicing, I wasn't really that afraid. I had been on the road before, so it wasn't much of a big deal. So I thought if these people, some really bad drivers I would see, and I'm like, if he can get a driving license, most definitely most definitely, I can't get a driving license. So I go, and 75% of the exam was so smooth, so beautiful, until I decide to fail. How do I decide to fail? I decide to cheat. How do I decide to cheat? By leaving handbrake in, because I panicked. I felt like, this is not going to work out, because I was not that confident after all. And then I cheated, and then I failed miserably, and then it crushed me. I am usually so hard on myself. Number one, I had gone from my values and tried to cheat. There is that. Number two, I had failed. Something I was like, yeah, this is so easy, you people. I failed. So I tried blaming everyone, but I got over it eventually. And then I did go to try the second time. And guess what? I didn't qualify. I went there the third time. Guess what? I failed. I'm like, hey, the village people, they're with me on this one, and I don't want them. I went home, but now I was like a mad person. So I go home, I tell my husband, you know what, I failed. He's like, I told him I failed, but this time it's not that I'm sad and now I'm going to cry and be in the bed. It's no. Yes, I was sad humanly, but then he noticed and he told me that maybe it's not just about the mistake you made and now you didn't get the license. Maybe it's because you're becoming a better person. There is that now fierceness. It's like either you're running mad or this is a good thing. There is something happening within you that I like. So maybe it's not just about the driving license. And then I was like, well, I'm going the fourth time. I don't care if I have to go 10 more times. I have to get this thing. And well, good thing the fourth time I got it. But these are the lessons that I learned. The obvious one, do not cheat. People do not cheat. It doesn't pay off. Number two, don't be afraid to speak up. The reason I failed the first time, I was so afraid to speak up. And then the risk that I was seeing, so I failed. Reason number three, which is the most important one, is that a failure is not my identity. I am not determined by the failures or the mistakes that I have made. Number four is that it only ends when I win. Until I win, that determination is what will make us push through the mistakes that we have made. And number five is that a good attitude really does pay off. Fun fact, the person that my instructor in the previous test was again my instructor, and I told him, do you remember me? Do you remember how you were in the mood and made me fail? Well, I'm back. Well, a good attitude and a little bit of humor does pay off. But I want to echo what my husband, David Serundod, is speaking of Ugandan husbands. I have a Ugandan husband. Thank you, Uganda Wanange. Thank you for giving us lovers. So, anyways.
Ugandans, let's celebrate ourselves in the comment section, small.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for me.
To Rwanda and Kenya.
Absolutely. So he said that who I am becoming is much more valuable than the achievement itself, which I think is most important, because show me the person that is making mistakes and I'll show you someone who's trying to do something out of their comfort zone. And we know that's where the growth happens. We know that's where the magic happens. Of course, we are going to do mistakes. Some are expensive, like Lydia said. Some are just normal that we can easily get over. But I'm talking specifically about those mistakes that are so crushing, that have dire consequences. In my case, it is an expensive journey. It wasn't that expensive, but it was a lot of money that was going on 4 tries. Hello. So the person that never makes a mistake is a person who has never tried doing anything. If you're trying to break your limits, most definitely they're going to be mistakes happen. But that's not the point, because who we are becoming holds much more value than the achievement itself. It's all about who we become. Now, research says that us women, especially, we are emotional beings. That we don't need a lot of studies to know that. But it also reflects on how we react when we encounter challenges, like when we do the mistakes, we internalize it. And then we go through an array of emotions, which is what I like to call the emotional ride. So when we dare to try, I'll use myself as the case in point, and we're going to learn from my mistakes. Now, I went the first time, I was uninformed, I was optimistic. I'm like, hello, it's Amanda, I got this. I've been driving for way too long. I can't miss out. I was uninformed, very optimistic, but I failed. When I felt now I've experienced the thing, now I'm pessimistic. I'm like, oh, these people unfair. Sometimes they're in the mood, the cars are old. So now I'm pessimistic. And then by the third time, I hit the valley of hopelessness or despair, where I'm like, will I ever get this thing? Is there some demonic activity? I don't. Now, usually this is where we tend to quit, when we have hit rock bottom or the bottom of the rock. It can be in business. When you've started off a business, you've invested your life in it. You start off, you're like, I know this is a sure deal. This is going to happen just like that. And then you meet a bit of obstacles. Now you're pessimistic. And then you hit the hugest of all, which throws you into the valley of despair. Now, this is the restart button. Usually you're like, okay, I sold milk, it didn't work. I think it's because in our family we don't have cows. Let me try selling shoes. You go to shoes. You start off uninformed, informed, then hopeless. So it is that cycle until we decide to push through. We decide to embrace that pain and push through so that we can reach the stage of informed optimism. Now I know you shouldn't cheat. Now I know you shouldn't do ABC. Now when you push through, when you allow yourself to digest that pain, that embarrassment from the mistakes, then can we attain success and fulfillment. There is a famous proverb, that analogy, that says that when stones are thrown at you, don't throw them back. Use them to build an empire. Allow me to restate this in my own words. The thing about empires is that usually people will hide behind them. But when we do make mistakes, I want to challenge us to say that when mistakes befall upon us, don't throw them, don't misuse your mistakes, sometimes they're too expensive. At least if we are going to lose, let us lose while we're profiting from them through the lessons. So when mistakes befall upon us, don't throw them away. Use them to build a platform where you're going to stand tall and shine, not just for yourself, by the way. I like something that I saw in the comment, that when you're better, you are better, then you're better for us. When the leader gets better, everyone around them gets better. So when we do make mistakes, and we shall make them, some big, some small, I'm talking about especially the big ones, they're the ones that crush us. When we do make mistakes, it is very important that we don't throw them away, but we use them as stepping stones to build an even taller platform where we don't hide behind the empire wall, but a platform where we will show that it can be done, it can be achieved for ourselves and the people around us. I need us to do a small personal reflection. Let us think about the time we made a significant mistake. Lydia, I want to see you think, because you said you made a lot of expensive ones. How did we use them? Feel free to share the experience in the chat. I'd like to see it right after this. If you made a big mistake, how did you use it? Did you use it as a wall, just like we saw, as a wall to hide behind? Or did you use it as a platform, a stepping stone, and build a much better comeback? It was, yes, a setback, but did you use it as a comeback? Or did you use it as a wall to shield you from the outside world? Let's do a personal reflection. And as we do, I want to throw this thought in your mind, that the only thing worse than an external oppressor is an internal oppressor. Thank you, Lydia, for touching base on this. Usually it is the voice in our heads that will tell us that you've embarrassed yourself enough. You think it was easy for me to go back the fourth time on the same field? And they're like, ooh, this woman knows how to drive. They're like, what are you doing here? You think it was easy for me? It wasn't. But it's that voice that says you've embarrassed yourself enough. You've thrown away too much money. This voice is worse than any other external oppressor that we shall ever have. So what are you telling yourself? Are you oppressing yourself? I will tell you something of how this voice worked very much against me. This is me. I'm in Tanzania. What do you say? I am really interested to see what you guys think of this picture on the left. Sorry. Yes, I wanted to read the comment section, but maybe someone can help me out. What do you think of this picture? From my angle, I can see do we have any comments? Lydia can help me. From the body language, can we read anything? Your mic is not working, Lydia. All right, maybe
So you look, can you hear me now?
yes,
So
yes.
the comments I have: tensed up, you are not confident, shy and nervous, shame, fear, low self-esteem, nervous, tensed up,
Yep.
low confidence.
All
Yeah.
right, that is why
Shy,
you in the room.
nervous.
Perfect,
Shy.
perfect. Thank you very much, Lydia. It's like you guys were in the room with me. This was me a few years ago when I had to do my very first presentation addressing a multinational delegation, and I was way out of my comfort zone, and this was me. So this is the story of how I failed and I blundered. In Tanzania, I think Bahati will remember this picture because she was part of the people in the room. Speaking of imposter syndrome, I had prepared this presentation, but then when I stood on that stage, I was like, I'm too small. I'm too small. Now, that thought, remember something I just said about the internal oppressor? That thought made me forget any English, forget that I have a voice. So I was so nervous, and then I choked up on tears because I couldn't believe this is happening. We have a multinational delegation here. I have to do a presentation. I have an incredible team that I'm supposed to be representing. I'm coming from an incredible country. So the expectation is really high. And then I am nervous, I choke up. When that happened, I felt so disappointed in myself. I felt like a failure. I embraced that and I made failure now my clothing. And then it clicked. This is not the end. I have to breathe and I have to build. So I came back to Rwanda. This is a few months later. And I think, well, I won't wait because this is a much better picture where I am more relaxed, much more confident because I was going through classes. But allowing myself to, I wouldn't have known that I have you people, I like speaking. When someone is with me, they say, you have a lot of words. Now imagine a person with a lot of words tensing up in front of people. I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't have known that there is that aspect of me that is so shy, that is so timid. If that picture on the left hadn't happened. So that pushed me to go and build, have a remedial plan and go through classes and all. And I'm becoming better, I hope. And after this, it clicked that maybe from this deepest pain that we be experiencing when we are making mistakes, maybe from this deepest pain, can we build our greatest ministries? Can we build our greater platforms where we stand tall, where we can tell others that it can be done? Maybe when we accept and when we allow ourselves to feel this pain, can we build something much, much greater for ourselves? When we accept to break the limits, we also have to be ready to accept the pain that comes from the embarrassment mistakes. But then we have to remember that it doesn't end there because we can yet build a greater ministry. We can't speak about mistakes without mentioning Thomas Edison, someone who made the most mistakes, I think, in our lifetime, of 10,000 mistakes trying to figure out how a lamp works. But he is an inspirational figure. Or talk about Oprah, who was fired from TV because she was deemed unfit. Or talk about Walt Disney. We've all enjoyed the Walt Disney movie. Yet at a certain point, they were so bankrupt, they had to close it off. Or talk about Miss Deshauna Barbara, who lost 6 consecutive years trying to be Miss USA. This is the attitude of builders. You have to turn the setbacks into the comebacks. You have to know that it doesn't end here. You don't have to be crushed by the mistake that we made, paralyzed, or allow that the internal oppressor. We have to go past that. We have to push through so that we can be able to achieve this success. And how do we do that? We learn. The only thing worse than a mistake is when we don't learn from the mistake. How do we learn? We learn and evolve from analyzing root negatives. That's the acronym LEARN. I hope we can remember it. That's how we build from mistakes. This is a famous Indian proverb that says, making mistakes is our nature, acceptance of mistakes shows our culture, and correcting mistakes decides our stature. In other words, when making mistakes, it's human to err. Number two, when we accept, when you have that psychological safety of, it's okay, Amanda, yes, you've spelled at this speech, and it's fine. No one is going to shoot you, it's fine. But then you don't have to stop there. When we decide to correct the mistakes, it will decide our state. It will decide how far we can go. When we decide to correct these mistakes, it will determine the level at which we can attain our potential. Now, this framework of learn is three main questions. What went wrong? What is the root cause? And what must I do to never make that mistake again? Very simple steps. I'll run through them. Again, using myself as the case in point. One, acknowledge and make peace. I had to acknowledge that, yes, I actually blundered and I didn't present as I should have. And then I have to go back to ask myself the 5 whys. So real quick, why was I that nervous in that meeting? I wasn't well prepared, and then I have to go back because I need to know the root cause, and then I have to remediate the root cause. So I wasn't well prepared. Why I didn't plan well? Why didn't I plan well? I was navigating 2 very new jobs, which I was very inexperienced at, and I was going through a tough season emotionally with my family. And then why was that happening? 2 things. I was unexperienced and I was unmotivated to do really much because of the tough season I was going through. I have to categorize these 2 causes in 2 ways. One, is it controllable? Is it uncontrollable? Controllable means there is a skill factor or a will factor. I was unexperienced in addressing multinational delegation. And then number 2, it's uncontrollable. I had to seek help, which I did, which has helped me. And now I have to go after it's a skill problem. What do I have to do? I have to take action, which is go under public speaking classes. Step number 5, implement what I've learned, because it's not about what good thing we hear, it's about action, which creates transformation, and which I hope we are going to do. Pick up one thing, implement it. That's where we're going to build from. That's the stepping stone. Step number 6, monitor. Is this working? If it's not working, then possibly we are correcting the wrong root cause. And step number 7, celebrate and repeat, because it's always about the bigger picture. It's about who we are becoming, not just about the mistake per se. But how about the irreversible mistakes? Some mistakes are irreversible. What do we do then? We need to forgive ourselves. We need to be quick to forgive ourselves. We need a strong support system. And most importantly, we need to remove ourselves from that entanglement and start preparing for tomorrow instead of repairing yesterday always. And in my case, I need to seek professional help for the turmoil I was going through. And I do now give debriefing programs for anyone who is in need. But these are some irreversible mistakes. Could be, maybe I got a child from this relationship. You cannot reverse the child. Maybe I am now going to jail because of this business partner. Maybe these are the hard things that are hard to deal with. But be quick to forgive yourself. Find a strong support system. Stop preparing yesterday and start preparing for tomorrow, and seek for professional help when it is needed. Now, quick question. Again, Lydia, I'm going to ask for your help on this. We all like a smooth life. We want a life where we are perfect, where there is no mistake, where there is no curve. That's ball A. And then there is ball B, which has the highs and lows. In these balls, which ball do you think is going to reach faster? There is one ball, it's a straight line, no obstacles, no nothing, no wahala. And then there is ball B, which has a lot of highs and lows. Which ball do you think will reach faster? Someone in the comments?
So far, I see B, A, 2 A's, B, ball A, A, A,
Right.
A,
For the sake of time, you can keep putting in your
A.
guess of either A or B. Now let the video decide.
Really?
I hope this changes our perspective on mistakes
Wow.
because, and kudos to those who say bold B. You know, mistakes give us a positive edge in life when we learn from them. Those highs and lows, they are the fuel that propels us for growth. And thus we can reach further and faster. We can reach our destinations, we can attain our goals further, and we can go further and faster in I don't know how it happens, but that's how it happens. You find people who are restricted in a certain, who are restricted in, who have put the limits. We can't go really far, but when you are taking risks, like I said, we only make mistakes when we are doing something. Now, when we break the limits, and when we break the limits and allow ourselves the luxury of making mistakes, counted mistakes, and we learn from them, we can reach our goals faster and much, much, much better. Now, my big question for you today will be, will yours be the next story of inspiration that will sharpen the next generation if you choose to build from your mistakes by building the platform we talked about that will allow you to stand tall, not just for yourself in this time and era, but for those who are going to come after you, remembering that when you make mistakes and learn from them, you reach your goals faster and you go further. Thank you very much. Let's stay connected. I am Amanda Palmer.
Wow, amazing. Can you join me to give Amanda from Rwanda a big hand clap for this amazing presentation? Amanda, thank you so much. This was amazing. Please join me to thank Amanda. Amanda, thank you so much. It's really been a great session. You know, she said, don't misuse your mistakes. Use them to build a platform. And tonight, as you go to sleep, I want you to start thinking about that mistake that is going to become a platform. Maybe you had an unplanned child. It was a mistake. Maybe you've made that mistake at your workplace. Maybe you've made a mistake in your marriage. Maybe you've made a mistake in your business. Whatever mistake it is, tonight, Amanda has reminded us that we don't need to hide behind these mistakes, but rather we should use these mistakes to build a platform. And I like the fact that you say that if we are going to break our limits, we need to be ready to make mistakes. So there is no breaking limits without making mistakes. So like our theme is break the limits. If we are ready to break the limits, then we need to make these mistakes. Someone says in the comment section, thank you, Amanda. Your presentation was mind-blowing. Thanks, Amanda, for the solutions. Yes, and for the reversible mistakes. Forgive yourself. Imagine you must be your best friend. You stay with yourself all the time. So thank you so much. If we have questions, continue asking us these questions. We shall answer them in the WhatsApp group, and some we shall continue to answer. Some we shall continue to answer even tomorrow, because tomorrow will be our second day. This conference is a 2-day event. So guess what? You're probably wondering, should I come tomorrow? Come tomorrow. Now, Amanda said something that we must use our mistakes to build an irresistible brand. I mean, to build a platform. It's not enough just to build a platform. You need to build an irresistible platform where everyone would be saying, I want to know this. I want to hear about this. Tomorrow, our very first presentation will be on building an irresistible brand. Yes, no matter which part of the world you're from, building an irresistible brand as an individual, building an irresistible brand as a business, building an irresistible brand in your workplace. Oh yes, you can build an irresistible brand in your workplace too. So don't stay behind. Don't say that day one was enough for me. I don't need to come in for day two. Don't miss day two, because if you only do day one, you'll only have done part one of the work. And yet Pumla reminded us that we need to do the work. There's more work to be done on day two. Guess what? We also understand that this kind of work is work that you cannot do alone. So we have some offers for you. Bahati has an offer for us. You know, Bahati does coaching, and so do I. So Bahati will be having what we call Reclaim Your Year. So just in case you feel you have made mistakes in the first part of this year and are wondering how you can make your second part of the year a better year, then I want to encourage you to register for Bahati's offer. She'll be having a masterclass called Reclaim Your Mistakes. So if you're interested, let us know in the group. Reclaim Your Mistake we'll have a total of about 4 masterclasses that will be run by Bahati. I'll also be offering Monetize Your Passion, just in case you're there and you want to reclaim your mistakes. Mistakes can also be things you are passionate about but made mistakes about. If you want to make money by doing what you love, it's sweet money, by the way. It's easy money. People pay you for just being the best version of yourself. So I'll also be doing the Monetize Your Passion masterclass. If it is your desire to start a business from what you love, even if you don't know what you love, and it is your desire to start a business from what you love, during these 2 days of the Growth Conference, I am giving an offer where we shall journey with you. No matter where you are from the world, this will be online. So don't miss out on them. Just type in the comment section and we shall be able to reach out to you to log you into these things. Remember, you need a mentor to help you break. You need to break those limits. You need a coach. And we are here. We don't want to leave you alone. So thank you so much for joining us. We are very excited. Has it great? Has it been great? Please let us know in the comment section so that we can know whether we had something great today and whether we should come back tomorrow. Yes. So someone says, I'm interested in both the master classes. We shall send registration links. Tomorrow we shall make sure registration links are available. Sorry, today the registration links were not available, but come back tomorrow. Tomorrow, the registration links for both the Reclaim Your Year and Monetize Your Passion will be available. So thank you so much for joining us. I can see many of you are saying, yes, it has been great. I'm interested in both the master classes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because this would not have been possible if you had not honored our invitation. So thank you so much for honoring our invitation, and to our amazing speakers, Amanda from Rwanda, Lydia from Kenya, and Pumla. Thank you so much for loving us and for loving the world. Thank you so much for sharing your time, your talent, and your treasure with the world. I can assure you that you have not left these people the same. You can be sure that there are people who are going to go and do something different. And as we leave here tonight, I want to encourage you. You may not take and do everything, but pick at least 1 to 3 action points. Pick at least 1 action point from Pumla's presentation, 1 action point from Lydia's presentation, and 1 action point from Amanda's presentation. Because what matters is the action that we start taking. Thank you so much. I'll just request those here who are with us, please just turn on your cameras so that we can just take a photo, a group photo. We love memories. We want to remember what happened on the 26th of June, 2024. So turn on your camera. We want to see you so that we say you are here. You know, remember, this is a movement. It's not about to stop. And you want to be among those people when we say, look, she was here when this movement started. So let's kindly turn on our cameras. We shall have just a group photo taken. Emma, you let me know when it's all ready.
All right, I will let you know.
Yeah. Turn on your cameras. As he turns on, asante sana, thank you so much. Rakoze Chane, the people from Rwanda, from Uganda, from Nigeria, from Tanzania, from India, from all over the world. We are grateful. Thank you for honoring our invitation. Come again tomorrow. Come again tomorrow. This is not finished until tomorrow. Emma, are you ready?
Yes.
All right.
In 3, 2, 1, say the Growth Conference and we will take a photo. So 3, 2, 1.
The Growth Conference.
The Growth Conference.
We have it. Thank you so much for being here. Photo is taken.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night and see you tomorrow.
You too.
Thank you.